My husband left me for our nanny. My husband Dan and I were in a loving relationship for over 6 years, and we were so happy when we found out that I was pregnant. I had been looking forward to the baby's arrival, but once he arrived, I was miserable. Motherhood was much harder than I thought it would be. One day I was at the supermarket and discovered that I had forgotten my ATM card. At that moment I broke down and started crying. So embarrassing. Our neighbor Amy, who I didn't know very well at the time, was behind me in line. She put an arm around me and offered to pay for me. Then she invited me in for a cup of coffee. Amy was a beautiful 24-year-old girl, with long blonde hair and full of life energy. The opposite of me. She was sweet and attentive and worked from home as an independent contractor. She offered to babysit Eli during the day. And so she started as our babysitter. I thought she was an angel. For almost a year it went well. I even started to see Amy as a little sister. I was so grateful to her. I started to enjoy my son and my life more. The only thing that didn't improve was my relationship with my husband Dan. He seemed to have lost his respect and love for me. Although at that time I didn't realize why. I didn't feel there was something off until my son Eli was already a year and a half old. Amy had dropped by spontaneously. She often did that, especially on the weekends. Now I noticed how her face changed when she heard that my husband Dan was not there. Before I knew it, she was gone. In the evening she came back. I found it annoying and would rather have an evening alone with Dan. Dan himself didn't seem to mind and immediately poured her a glass of wine. When I started yawning around 11 o'clock, Dan suggested that I go to bed. I immediately felt restlessness in my body. Nevertheless, I did it and left Amy and Dan alone. I heard them talking and laughing. My husband laughed much louder and more exuberantly than he did with me. I felt frozen. I knew something was wrong. Still, I kept my mouth shut. But one night Dan came home and told me that he was in love with Amy. And she was in love with him. Their relationship had been going on for 10 months. This meant it had started when Amy was barely babysitting for 6 weeks. It made me sick. I begged and cried. I said I couldn't make it with our son without him. But it was no use. Amy and Dan moved in together and the divorce was set in motion. The judge decided co-parenting was best. Dan, meanwhile, doesn't interest me anymore. But the fact that Amy takes care of my son. And that Eli tells me funny stories about Amy and Dad, that stings.